So, I'm a villainess today. What can I say? I like the dress. Um, I actually tried to find I have like Maleficent horns somewhere, but I could not find them and I have no idea where they are. I looked through the drawers. I found the bunny ears. I found all my other various hats. Could not find the horns. So, okay, I'm kind of a cross between the evil queen, given the apple, and the queen of hearts, who in Once Upon a Time are daughter and mother. So, applies there. Now, my pretty glass apple has returned. Um, Today, I'm going to be doing a chart, a tier list of all of the official Disney villains in regards to my ranking of of my favorite to least favorite. So, let me get set up for that. What can I say? I like the glass apple. It's pretty. Okay, so as I said, this is going to be my rankings of the official Disney villains. So that would be the ones that you see on the screen. I am going to do a second video where I rank the other kind of miscellaneous Disney villains that are all from the different movies and everything, because not all of them are official Disney villains. And such, as you can see, because we don't have, Frollo is not on here from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Neither is Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, Madame Medusa from, the Rescuers. There's quite a few that are not on this part, like, know the name. What's the name? Pocahontas villain. Radcliffe. Radcliffe isn't on this part. He'll be on the other part. There's several others that'll be on the other part. And I figured I'd break out my witch's dress. I've actually had this for quite a while now. And so I can wear this while I do this part, because I don't remember dressing up at all last year for this part, but I am going to take off this part because it's kind of annoying. I do like the necklace though. So whenever I wear this, I feel like I can try to do like a Regina as the evil queen from Once Upon a Time, because I love her outfits. I may just end up doing a whole video about her outfits throughout the course of the series because I love them so much. They were so great. So, as I said before, this is the official Disney villains, and this is going to be not my list of like which ones are the scariest, which ones are, the most dangerous or the most evil. This is just my ranking of how much I like them as a villain. So, and then at the end I might do something where I'd be like, and then this would be like the configuration for like the order that these ones scare me or something, but we'll see how that goes. So let's start with the evil queen. And this is not necessarily my my critiquing of their plans, but there's definitely going to be that as I go through of like, so your plan was this. There are much easier methods you could have done to achieve your goal. So we'll start with the evil queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. She also turns, of course, into the old hag at, partway through the movie and everything, and does the whole, one bite of the poison she's not stating it's poison. One bite of the apple and all your dreams will come true type of thing. Which admittedly she almost succeeds, except that we have no idea if she's like trapped as the witch, the hag, for like the rest of her life. Although rest of her life lasts long enough for the dwarves to chase her and a boulder to land on her head. I don't remember finding the evil queen extremely scary when I was a child. I know in Once Upon a Time they definitely up her, how much of a threat she is. But this is going basically just off of like what we see in the animated movies. And we only see her in one. So she's going to go in B. I mean, like, yes, she tries to kill a 14-year-old. She, technically succeeds, given the fact that the dwarves think that she's dead for quite a while before the prince shows up and decides to kiss her. I've already gone over my opinions on the prince. Next up, we have Chernobog from Fantasia, which I think he was just thrown in there because, like, in Pinocchio, yes, there's, you know, Monstro and, you know, I was about to say Fazoli, but that's wrong. Stromboli. He'll be on the other list. But yeah, so in Fantasia, there's of course the Night on Bald Mountain turns into Ave Maria sequence at the end. That is, you know, Chernobog, who's, you know, supposed to be this, you know, devil, and he like summons all of his friends, and they have like a giant party on top of the mountain and probably scare some people, and then they go back to sleep. So yeah, Chernobog, even though he is technically the representation of the devil, and, you know, Disney was like quite bold in an attempt to do that in, you know, in the 1940s when Fantasia came out. But Chernobog kind of goes into B ranking. I can tell you none of these ones are going to end up in like D or F. C, actually, in all honesty, the Queen of Hearts goes in C because she's more a spoiled brat than anything else in regards to just, you know, the way that she acts. Yes, off with her head, off with her head. You know, who painted my road? You know, I just don't care for her. And then we have Captain Hook from, of course, Peter Pan. Captain Hook, I mean, you know, he manipulates Tinkerbell. That's pretty dang good. You know, in regards to what he does, he's also, you know, has the vendetta against Peter Pan in regards to his, you know, hook for a hand that he took. And all this other stuff. You know, I just, you know, I mean, I do like what they do with Captain Hook, and, you know, and then in the second movie, he goes and he kidnaps, you know, Wendy's daughter. You know, so it's just like, okay, you get points for having achieved that. Fun, you know, get back and, you know, get to the human world and then get back to Neverland and everything. Wendy's daughter, Jane. So there's that. But I was trying to think if, like, where I place him in regards to his, how much I like him as a villain. I mean, like, I really do like him as a villain. If you go into A tier for the moment. Then we have Maleficent, who is the only one out of all of these that has the ability to turn into a dragon, which is pretty cool. Which I've always stated that if I'm ever like if I was ever like in the past or whatever, and it's just like, we're just going to invite everybody to the child's christening because that's the reason Maleficent gets angry. In the original movie is she's angry because they slighted her for an invitation, because at that time that was considered, you know, a very proper thing to do, was just to invite everybody. And if you're snubbed, then that was an extremely huge insult. So I don't blame Maleficent for being, you know, angry. Goes a little overboard and, you know, curses the child and everything. You know, just like, okay, why are you doing that? The baby did nothing to you. We, of course, see in the live action one that this gets somewhat remedied, but we're going off of just the animated stuff, not the live action stuff or the stuff that we see in Once Upon a Time or anything like that. But, you know, I've always loved Maleficent. I've always loved her style and her flair and everything that she... My phone fell. Nothing broke. We're fine. Style and flair, the way she has her crow do all of her crow is her smartest henchman. Well, her crow / raven, whichever one you go with, is her smartest henchman, which I just find hilarious. Yeah, I just find that so funny that the bird is her best henchman, and then of course he gets turned into stone. You know, she goes and she kidnaps the prince because she's just like, gonna take this prince with me. He'll be useful. It's like, she's going to make him sit in the tower for like 100 years. I'm sorry, I love Maleficent. Then we have Cruella de Vil. Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians. And Cruella, when I was a child, you know, I'm pretty sure Cruella always scared me as a child. I'm sure at various points in time throughout watching these movies when I was a kid, I'm sure the villains probably scared me a bit more for various reasons. Captain Hook is a pirate. He almost makes, he makes Wendy walk the plank. He's ready to, off Wendy, threatening all the Lost Boys in the process. The Wicked Queen, which is like, oh, I'm going to have, the evil queen is just like, oh, I'm going to have this huntsman kill this innocent girl and bring me back her heart in a box. I'm like, okay, woman, you have your own issues you need to work through. Out of all of them, out of the ones so far, it's like, out of basically all the ones that are here on the list, Cruella is the one that has no magic at all. She is a plain old ordinary person. At the very least with Captain Hook, he's got like his pirate crew and everything. And yeah, Cruella has Horace and Jasper. But admittedly, Horace and Jasper are not that effective of, cronies, henchmen, goons, whichever way you want to put it. They're not that very effective, considering that they lose, 99 puppies, and everything. But Cruella, it's like, okay, you're stealing the puppies from one of your supposedly, best friends in regards to Anita and everything, all because you want to make a coat out of puppies. Why? It's like, even all the other Disney villains on this list are just like, why did you want to skin 100 puppies? What is wrong with you, woman? And like so many of the different ones, it's just like, so many of them have their own goals and everything. Oh my god, you wanted to skin 99 puppies? Why? That's always one of those things that's just like, okay, that was always one of those things that like baffled me as a child compared to all the other ones. But Cruella goes up in A tier. I'm sorry. I love Cruella as a villain. Her fur coats always look nice, but now at this point in time, I'm just like, no, I'll take fake fur. Thank you. Then we have Ursula. Ursula the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid. And, Ursula, what can I say? Her song, I love her song in the movie. I know in the Broadway play, I believe that they expand on her character and she's like Triton's sister or something. And I've seen other things where she's like, yes, she's Triton's sister and everything. But in like between the canon of like the original Little Mermaid movie and then the sequel, Return to the Sea, where they have Morgana, it's like, no, it's just her and her sister, and it has nothing to do with Triton being their brother or anything like that. But with Ursula, it's she manipulates Ariel. I mean, like, admittedly, she keeps her promise and she does give her legs, but then she, of course, interferes with what's going on the surface when she messes up when, Ariel and Eric are going to kiss and everything, and we have all that stuff that happens. And then, of course, she goes and she pretends to be, Vanessa in order to get, hypnotize Eric so he'll marry her instead and everything. So, Ursula gets a pretty dang good rap sheet there in that regard. She, manipulates, Triton. Well, she just basically straight up threatens him with, well, I'll keep Ariel as my little horror ghoul thingies and she'll, stay with me and everything, like my garden and everything, or you can take her place, which, he does because he loves his daughter. And he'd probably do the same thing. Well, he would definitely do the same thing for any of his daughters. It's just that Ariel is the one that is in this particular situation. But yeah, he would do that for any of his other 6 daughters. And such. So we see all of that. And I love her. Her song is great. Props to Howard Ashman and, Alan Menken for writing the song and everything. I love all the music in The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and most Disney music I love. There's very few Disney songs that I don't actually like, and it has nothing to do with who wrote them. It's just I just don't like the song. But Ursula goes up here. There. Then we have Jafar, who, you know, he wants to become sultan and everything, and it's just like, you have a fair amount of control already over things, so I don't know why you're insistent on having to become the sultan of all things. But that's the way Jafar's mind works. He wants to become sultan so he can rule over all of Agrabah. Sure, there are far simpler ways that you could have done this. Of course, he tries to manipulate it that he can marry Jasmine. He's after the diamond in the rough, which is, of course, Aladdin, and all this other stuff that we see Jafar do. And he has this henchman of Iago. Iago's pretty competent considering that he does manage to, help steal the lamp and everything away from, Aladdin after they figure out that Aladdin is Prince Ali and everything. Iago's fairly effective as a henchman. I'll give him that. Also, I just like Iago, and unfortunately, Gilbert Gottfried, if I remember correctly, is the one who voiced Iago. I believe he passed away recently, so unfortunately, we lost Iago recently. But, I love Jafar. He changed, he makes he's got all of this power anyway, and then, he wishes to become the most powerful sorcerer and everything. And if he just stuck with the powerful sorcerer... See, the thing is, people always knock Aladdin for, not using his wishes very well. So it's like, okay, he wishes to become a prince so he can, at least have a legitimate reason to be able to get to know Jasmine better. So I'm just like, okay, Aladdin's fine with that. His second wish is to be saved from when he's drowning. So, okay, good. Technically not his choice of a wish, but it still counts. And then, he wishes genie free. Perfectly fine. For Jafar, okay, his first wish is to become sultan so he can rule on high. Okay, fine. Easily accomplished. Then he wishes to become the most powerful sorcerer in the world. Okay. Then he wants to use his last wish in order to make Jasmine fall in love with him. And even though that doesn't, it's like, that doesn't work for the rules of the genie, you'd think that Jafar would have been smart enough to be able to go, oh, well, I can't make her fall in love with me? Then just give her feelings so she's incredibly infatuated with me. It's like, not love, infatuation. Big difference in that regard. Looks the same to a degree on the outside, but probably can get around that rule of magic there with not being able to kill anyone, can't bring anybody back from the dead, and can't make anybody fall in love. Although, obviously, in Once Upon a Time, they kind of mess with those rules quite a bit. But then Jafar ends up making the stupid wish of, I want to become an all-powerful genie, without having any idea of what that's going to actually entail, and then he's trapped in a lamp. And then he has to deal with Abbas Small in the second movie, and then he still ends up dying because his lamp gets destroyed. I'm like, honestly, Jafar, you probably should have just left it be and just, stayed in the lamp. Maybe you would have found another master years down the line that would have been far more competent than Abbas Small. But yeah, so there's that. Jafar from Aladdin and Return of Jafar gets slight referenced in, Aladdin, King of Thieves. And Jafar is also in Aladdin, the animated series, I think, a little bit. But yeah, Jafar goes here in regards to, his ranking as a villain, in my opinion. Not that I find him less threatening than Chernabog, but just in regards to how much I like him as a villain. Then we have Scar, who actually, out of all of these ones, is actually the only one that succeeded in his goal for a decent amount of time, considering that, well, we don't actually have 100% timeline on The Lion King because, if you go by the rate that lions actually age, that Simba would take to go from being a cub to being, an adolescent to being the teenage variation / early 20s version of a lion that he is when he returns, that's not a huge amount of time in the grand scheme of things. But, Scar is the only one that actually, full on succeeds, because Cruella never gets her coat. Hook doesn't kill Peter Pan or any of the Lost Boys. Ursula has her power for all of 20 minutes. The evil queen gets, squished by a rock, even though she succeeded in, poisoning, Snow White. The Queen of Hearts doesn't get really anything. Jafar is Sultan, and then, whatever for like less than, I'd say, like a day, maybe a day and a half or so by the time Aladdin returns. Shuttlebug just wanted to throw a party and then go back to bed, so he's fine. Maleficent, it's Ariel, it's like Aurora is asleep for like less than a day in the actual Disney version, and she, even with turning into a dragon, she still gets killed by Prince Philip, so there's not really much that she can do, you know. And then, the last two on the list, which I'll go over, Hades and, Facilier and everything, but Scar is one that actually, like, legitimately has, like, a sustained amount of power for a decent amount of time, rule for a decent amount of time and everything. He manipulates Simba into, being the bait for, Mufasa, and then of course he manipulates Mufasa into dying, long live the king and everything. And that whole scene that traumatized me as a child, probably. Yeah. And, I'm pretty sure several things that the villains did throughout the course of their movies and everything traumatized me when I was a child. But I didn't care because there was music, so I was singing along. Oh, what a foolish child I was. But, we see a bunch of that, and then he's the one, he manipulates Simba into running away. Why he doesn't just kill Simba himself is left up for debate, but maybe there was at least enough, I was going to say love in his heart, but enough, I don't know, affection in his heart for Simba that he didn't want to kill him himself, but the hyenas fail. It's like Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed are just like fairly incapable. Shenzi is the most capable out of all of them, but then there's all the other hyenas and end up like working with, Scar and everything to, rule over the Pride Lands and the lions and everything. But Scar has always been one of my favorite Disney villains. Also, Be Prepared, his song is amazing and I love it. And then we have Hades, Lord of the Underworld, God of the Dead. Hi, how you doing? Hades is, in Greek mythology, Hades actually out of Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus. Hades is actually, like, literally the most down-to-earth and the most, like, chill out of the three of them. He doesn't do that much. And like, in, like, Greek and like, Christian mythology and everything, he was transformed into being, like, this predecessor to, like, the devil and everything. Which he really wasn't. He just happened to be the one that ruled over the underworld and kept things, running fairly smoothly. But, he wasn't this horrible thing that they turned him into in the movie and everything. But like in the context of the movie, which is where of course I'm basing this on, he does, he successfully, as Pain and Panic, kidnap Hercules, but then they fail in, giving him the full potion, so he does still have his strength. Then he thinks Hercules is dead for 18 years and everything. He's, very charming in the fact that he charms the fates and everything to get information out of them. And, we get all this other stuff that we see. And then, of course, he's manipulating Meg. And then, of course, the other thing is that we find out throughout the course of the animated series that, Hercules, the animated series, that Hades has actually kind of been aware of the fact that Hercules has been, like, alive. And he keeps trying to, like, kill Hercules again and again and again throughout the course of the animated series. And then I don't remember what mechanic, but I think it has to do with, like, they just basically give Hades amnesia, and Hades and Pain and Panic, I think, amnesia and remembering that, like, Hercules is still alive. So that way, by the time it's like, oh, well, in regards to the movie, no, Hades didn't know that Hercules was alive. So he's still surprised by that. He manipulates Meg and everything, and the way that he manipulates Meg into, helping him get what he wants out of Hercules, and then he just throws Meg under the bus right in front of Hercules after he did all of that to them. I find that extremely evil in that regard, in the way that he did that. And Hades gets to go up here. But, like, he doesn't succeed very well in, like, taking over Olympus. Yes, he frees the Titans and everything, and, like, for all of, like, maybe an hour or something like that, he's not even in charge of Olympus for very long before Hercules shows back up after breaking the deal and everything. And then, of course, he gets punched into the vat of souls at the end of the movie. So there's that. So there's not much else that goes on there with Hades. Although Hades, as I said, Hades and Jafar actually like team up in one of the, I think it's the Aladdin the animated series episodes. They like team up at one point, which is just kind of funny to watch. Now we have the most recent one out of the official Disney villains. Not all of them, but the official ones. We have Dr. Facilier. And he is, of course, from The Princess and the Frog. And Dr. Facilier is one of the villains, of course, that I do like a fair amount because he does kind of feed off of like the human emotions of greed or laziness or love and uses them as a way to manipulate people because, of course, throughout the course of the movie, he manipulates, Naveen and then, the butler. What's the butler's name? I don't remember what the butler's name is, but, he manipulates Naveen and the butler into, doing what he wants so he can, use the butler as like a puppet in order to get, Charlotte so he can, then, eventually kill, Big Daddy and everything. He's got like his friends on the other side, the shadows and everything that help him. So, I mean, like, there's a fair amount that goes into that. In regards to, Dr. Facilier and his powers and everything. In regards to how much I like him. Also, Friends on the Other Side is a pretty dang good song. I gotta admit that. But, it's like he's also, it's a more modern time. He's got magic and everything, which I really like. And how they, worked with that. And he's actually gonna go here. So yeah, this would be how they would rank in regards to how much I like them as a villain. That doesn't mean that I don't still love watching the movies and everything. But in regards to the ones that I would say are the scariest, because there's a difference between the ones that I like the most and the ones that are the scariest out of all of these. The ones that I would say are the scariest. Scar, Facilier, Hades, go over there. Wicked Queen or Evil Queen, Maleficent, Ursula, Jafar. Go over here, Jafar. Over here. There we go. And then Chernobog, and then the Wicked, her, Queen of Hearts. That would be the order I would say that they scare me the most in regards to which one I think is the scariest. But yeah, where they were in regards to, Maleficent and everything else in that regard, and, for like the order that they're in regards to, Cruella and Hades and all this other stuff. That would be pretty much the order I would put them in regards to. Oh, no, hold on. Goose those around, I think. That would pretty much be the order that they would go in regards to my favorite Disney villains, in regards to ranking them in that regard. So, I moved something around where it wasn't supposed to go. There we go. There we go. I think that was the way it was before. Oh, well. So, that's what I have. I thank you very much for watching. I'm pretty sure everybody has like their own order that they would put these in regard to their favorite or their scariest or whatever. And the next video will be, or the next, rankings video will be all of the different, the other miscellaneous Disney villains. So that's, Stromboli and Lady Tremaine and Mayor Bellwether and Mother Gothel and a whole bunch of other ones. From a bunch of the more recent movies. So that's what we have. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Happy Halloween. Bye.